أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين شفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمسابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه الصلاة والسلام. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So as far as the Quran is concerned, we have very naive assumptions that it is a revelation from a text already with God. And we read this in the Quran. Quranun Kareem fi kitabin maknoon or fi lawhin mahfuz, and that it's been delivered to the Blessed Prophet at a given point in time, and that the Prophet simply recited it, or that the Quran was already known by the Prophet, and he, when the occasions arose, spoke it out. Now these are the views that also our Mufassirin have. But this avoids the nuances that are in the Quran. If you look at the Quran, it talks about Kitab. It talks about Kitab Mubin. It talks about Kitab Hakim. Now, of course, some of them are synonymous terms, giving different descriptions for the same reality. It talks about the process of revelation, Inzal, Tanzil, and Wahi. We lump them together as revelation. But what does revelation mean? There is so much going on within the Quran and in the whole process of its delivery. It's quite baffling and mind-blowing. These ideas are naive, born through naive assumptions, and we avoid looking at the nuances that the Quran is giving. For example, the whole term Inzal and Tanzil, when we translate as revelation, is not accurate, because both are two different stages of revelation. Both are very unique. And when we say Wahi means revelation, it does not mean revelation. It's a process, it's a mechanism of articulating something. So we will look at this in today's lecture, and we will see how our naive assumptions are faltering with our understanding of the Quran. Now, for those of us who do not know Arabic, this discussion may not be very fair, because the translators don't make those distinctions. The translations are very, very loose. So whenever you are discussing the Quran, one is always forced to say, don't look at the translation, because the translation will undoubtedly say this. And that is not what the Quran is saying in its literal capacity. The translator is assuming something. So when he says, وَقَالَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ, and his Lord said to him, you see, and then when the reference is back to the Lord, a capital H will be used to mean the ineffable God. Now, there is no doubt that you can use the capitalized H to talk about Lord and not the Lord of the worlds, but then that is misleading, because the mind of the reader will see it as the ineffable God, not any expression of the ineffable God. So now, with these sort of conflations in our minds that Quran means the Kitabul Mubin, we have this notion that the Quran has everything within it. And we'll read that verse in a second. But we know for a fact that the Quran does not have everything within it. But yes, it does, in a very different way. So these assumptions of ours will be clarified today. These nuances that the Quran brings will be clarified today, and we are not assuming anything. Now look at this assumption that we have that the Quran has everything within it. If you open Surah An'am, Surah 6, 59, and He has the keys of the unseen, and none knows them save He. And He knows what is within the land and the sea, and no leaf falls except He knows about it. And there is no seed buried within the depths of the earth, and there is nothing wet nor dry, but that it is within the Kitabun Mubin. Now here it's not talking about the Quran, it's talking about Kitabun Mubin. Kitabun Mubin is a distinct reality from the Quran. Quran is something else. So somebody might ask you, well, if it says everything is inside the Quran, a tree falling, where is it? It's not there, at least not there, not available for the likes of me to understand, or any human intellect to understand. Similarly, look at the effect of our naive assumptions. Shias normally quote this verse, the day in which we will call every people with their imam. And we understand this imam to be a human figure, either the Prophet or the imams from the progeny of the Prophet. But that's not what the verse is saying at all. It doesn't mean that. This is our assumption. If you look at this verse, 17, 71, and 72, follow the verse through. I'm just clarifying this as we build into the topic. And it would be better if we had pen and paper and made notes on this day, even if I say so myself. Look at this verse. يَوْمَ نَدْعُ كُلَّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. The day in which we will call every people, groups of people with their imam. Look at what follows. فَمَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابُهُ بِيَمِينِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ يَقْرَؤُونَ كِتَابُهُمْ وَلَا يُظْلَمُونَ فَتِيلًا. And the people who are given their book in their right hand, they will read their books and they will not be shortchanged even to the slightest. If you look at the word imam within the Quran, it's by and large used in two meanings, as human guides and as book. Here, on the final day, it means a book, and it's quite clear whoever has been given their book in their right hand. So imam means a book. So these naive assumptions of ours is something that falters with our understanding. Now, if you look at the Quran, it has emphasis on book, on writing, on scrolls, on scribes. On the day of Qiyamah, scrolls will be brought, our deeds will be opened. If you look at the Quran accurately, you find a universe that is not what we think it is. The universe, according to the Quran, is a written word or a spoken word. Now, that might not be so strange for the 21st century mind, because we can program things within a computer. It is all a written word. There's an interface that makes it all appear animated. But behind the animations, there are nothing but numbers. They're nothing but words. If you look at the Quran carefully, on that day, we will fold up the heavens like scrolls, and He will hold it in His right hand. The words of God will never cease, even if the 7 seas dry up. And the pens, if all the trees were pens, if they devastate, inscribing the words of God, they will finish, but the words of God will never end. We look at the Quran carefully. It's all about words, about speech. Something else is going on. Now we're going to use the literal method of analysis here, something that Tabatabai used in his method of tafsir. Now when you look at the Quran is communication, like Torah and Injil. But unlike Torah and Injil, the conversations between the divine realm and between the one conversing at that point were written by scribes, as they were told. In the case of the Quran is composed by God. We want to go through these verses. And that's why the recital, Quran means the recital, recited, is seen as a miracle, because it's perfectly consistent in its themes, in its words. It's perfectly balanced on the cosmic scale. وَوَضَعَ الْمِيزَانَ أَلَا تَطْغَوْا فِي الْمِيزَانِ. And He placed the scale. Do not transgress the scale. It is beautifully balanced everywhere. Look at it again and again and again, and you will see the balance and the depths of the meaning. So here, Quran is not only a conversation to the Prophet, but then that conversation is written. لا تحرك به لسانك. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. لتعجل به. Muhammad, don't hasten your tongue to deliver it. إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه. It is our task to gather it and to recite it. وإذا قرأناه فاتبع قرآنه. And when we recite it, then follow the recital. ثم إن علينا بيانا. And it is our task to explain it. Muhammad, worry not, because the Blessed Prophet in the Meccan phase used to immediately deliver the verses, lest he forgot. So he was told in Surah Qiyamah, لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. Do not move your tongue to hasten with it. We will do the work for you. Now, look at this verse that we cited yesterday, just to lead us into the topic. Surah 4:82. أفلا يتدبرون القرآن ولو كان من عند غير الله لوجدوا فيه اختلافا كثيرا. Do they not reflect upon the Quran? Had it been from other than God, they would have found many discrepancies therein. Now look at this challenge that the Quran is giving. Look at this challenge that the Quran is giving. You're going to be delivering a message over a protracted period of 23 years. Now it's not being immediately written down. Over 23 years, there are many events that are going to transpire. How can you give a piece of work that talks about the higher cosmic realm, embryology, beginning of life on earth, cosmology, theology, morality, and expect it to be consistent? Yesterday we gave an example. The Quran is consistently quoting the development of a fetus. We gave you ears, eyes, and the ability to compare. This sequence is maintained throughout the Quran. Which mind can have such in-depth consistency? And if you give a meaning at one point, then the other meaning that you give at another point has to be exactly matching and has to conform. None can make this, I understood this at a later date in my life, that none can make this claim except for the ineffable one who is in possession of absolute knowledge. No prophet, no imam, no Jibreel, no Mikael, none can make this proclamation. Only the one with absolute knowledge. And if you look at the Quran carefully, when God, the ineffable one, is described, he is seen as the light of the heavens and the earth, the first and the last, but together with that, the prominent attribute of God is what? وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٍ. He has knowledge of all things. Knowledge is the one quality that is used to describe God again and again in the Quran, to mark the status of God as God. So he shows that the recital is from God. Now let us go into the key terms of the Quran. The first one is tanzil, but this analysis is analytical. You see, our minds think in the worldly sense, that there was a yesterday, there is a today, there will be a tomorrow. Our thinking is linear, right? That we have these stages. But the Quranic story is very different. It is talking about simultaneous synchronicity in the moment. As far as the Quran is concerned, there is no yesterday, today, or tomorrow, especially in the story of the revelation of the Quran. It is all in the now. It's all happening at the moment. Yeah? That's the story of the Quran. There is no separation of realm from another realm through the feature of time or through the feature of space. It is all intertwined. It is all coming from within or beyond. I don't know how, but it's all at once. Now that makes sense. If the prelude is too long, I'll leave it halfway and we'll continue tomorrow. And that means we won't finish our topic in the 10 days, which means next year we'll continue it again if I'm alive or somewhere else. Yes, I know I'm getting carried away right now. If you look at Jesus, Allah is asking him, Isa, did you say to them, worship me and my mother? Now the conversation is being had in the hereafter with Isa at the time when the verse is being revealed to Prophet Muhammad. So this conversation that God is having with Isa is being delivered to Prophet Muhammad. When is the day of Qiyamah? Has it come? But it's being delivered in the now. The conversation is being had now. On that day they will ask us and we will reply this. If only you could see how they will be with their heads bowed. If you look at the Quran very carefully, it does not understand separation through time. It's all happening now. So these analyses have to be understood in the manner of analytical, theoretical analysis, not in time frame, that there was a book which was subsequently revealed. It is more like the example of a hand holding a key. The key is inserted into the lock. The hand moves, the key moves, the lock moves simultaneously. But there is priority to the hand in motion, then the key, then the lock. It's a logical priority. There is no time lag. We need to understand it in that way. Now, the interpretations that I will give here to these terms are the interpretations that, in my very humble capacity, that I have come upon. So the first word is tanzil. Now, tanzil means, according to the definition that I have understood, continuous, gradual process of descent, or coming down, and revelation or expression. So tanzil means a continuous, gradual process of descent, revelation, expression, coming down. Synonymous terms, using them as synonymous terms here. Now, in terms of tanzil, it is a constant process. It's always happening from a source. Now look at these verses. 39:1, Zumar. Tanzilul kitab min Allah al-Aziz al-Hakim. The gradual descent of the book from the mighty, the wise. So here we know it's a book whose descent is happening from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ineffable one, the highest authority we can imagine. Tanzilul Kitab. Now there are 4, 5, 6 verses like this in the Quran. I'm being very selective. Surah Sajda 32:1, 32:2. Tanzilul Kitab la rayba fih min Rabbil Alameen. The gradual, continuous descent of the book, no doubt, from the Lord of the worlds. When the word Lord of the worlds is used in the Quran, it means Allah, the one and only. Nobody else. So from these verses we know that there is tanzil of kitab. The kitab is constantly pouring forth. Now the expression I give to this is it's like the radio signals that are continuously coming from the source, or the microwave cosmic background that is always there. It just needs somebody to tap into it. Can you see that? The microwave cosmic background that was left from the Big Bang, it was there from the moment of the beginning of time, and it's accompanied us ever since. It never fades away. It's always there. Tanzil is to be understood in something at this way. So at this level, the kitab's tanzil is amorphous. It does not have meanings. It does not have words. It doesn't have any such thing. But it's in perfect synchronicity with everything, just like the cosmic background, cosmic waves, right? Now, after this stage comes the formation of ayat. And that is the next stage. Look at Surah Hud 11:1. Alif Lam Ra, Kitabun Uhkimat Ayatuhu Thumma Fusilat Min Ladun Hakimin Khabir. Book whose signs are all clustered together, then they're torn apart by the most knowing, the most wise. So there was no communication initially. It was amorphous. Then that amorphousness acquires a meaning, but that meaning is lumped together. And then it is torn apart, made into meanings that are individual. Surah 10, verse 1. Alif Lam Ra, Tilka Ayatul Kitabil Hakim. They are the signs of the wise book. Surah 12:1, Alif Lam Ra, Tilka Ayatul Kitabil Mubin. They are the signs of the apparent book, the clear book. All three terms are a particular stage of the Tanzilul Kitab in the process of it coming down. Now, you know, coming down, I'm just using it metaphorically. There's no coming down. It's just an expression. Yeah? So now at this stage, the verses are being formed into meanings, then into words, into recital. But as I'm going to say, it's all synced, so in sync together. Now at this point then, because now the Quran has been formed, it is in a particular stage which is guarded. Look at Surah Al-Buruj, 85, 21 and 22. It is here that it is called Quran. Before this, it is not called Quran accurately. It's called Quran metaphorically. Bal huwa Quranun Majid. Rather, it is the glorious Quran fi lawhin mahfud, in a preserved tablet. This is a particular stage in its descent. Look at the other verse, Surah Waqiyah 56, 77, 78. So the preserved tablet is other than the Quran. Innahu laqur'anun kareem. It's the noble Quran. Fi kitabin maknoon. In a hidden tablet. La yamassuhu illa al-mutahharun. Tanzilun min rabbil alameen. None will touch it save the most purified one. A gradual descent from the Lord of the worlds. So you see, this is a particular stage after tanzil, after formation of ayat, after giving it recital, then it is preserved and guarded. Now, who are the mutahharun? We will explore that maybe in a day or two's time. Again, it is within the mother of book. Surah Zukhruf 43, 4. وَإِنَّهُ فِي أُمِّ الْكِتَابِ لَدَيْنَا لَعَلِيٌّ حَكِيمٌ. It, the Quran, is with us, within the mother of book. لَعَلِيٌّ Adim, the mighty, the Aliyun Hakim, with the mighty, the most wise. So after this stage, after Tanzil, splitting of the ayat, making it into a recital, it's all happening simultaneously with the life of the Prophet, by the way. All of this is happening in the moment as the Prophet is getting the revelation. You have to think of it that way. Then comes the stage of Inzal. Now the Mufassirin have translated Inzal as instantaneous revelation. This is not what I have found. Instead, I have found it's a single gradual process of descent from its source in the form of communication, as with the Quran, Torah, and Injil. Now, I'll give an example here, similar to a live broadcast in a manner of questions and answers. These communications are termed as ayat. So just imagine, there is an event going on, and people are talking, or person online is talking with us. We are questioning them, they are answering. That's a single event. It's a single event, but it is spread over 2 hours. That is the meaning of inzal. Or like the rain, the Quran says, وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً. Or we have done inzal of water from the sky. You know, the water does not fall all at once. It comes in raindrops, but it's one falling. So it's a single, gradual descent, as opposed to a continuous process of descent, which is tanzil. Inzal is a singular one. Now look at this verse. Surah Yusuf 12, 1 and 2. Alif Lam Ra. Those are the signs of the clear book. Indeed, we have sent it as a singular, I'm going to translate it in that way, singular, continuous process as a Quran in Arabic. Can you see that? They are the Kitabul Mubin. They are from Kitabul Mubin, the science. We have rendered them into Arabic and we have sent it to you in one continuous single process that is lasting over 23 years. Is that become clear? Yeah? So you have Tanzil, where the meanings are amorphous. Then you have Ayat. Then you have formation of the Ayat in the preserved tablet. Then you have Inzal, coming down to the Prophet's realm. Coming down to the Prophet's realm. But the verse makes it clear that they are coming from Kitabul Mubin. In Kitabul Mubin, they weren't Arabic. We made them into an Arabic recital subsequently. We revealed them as an Arabic Quran, as an Arabic recital. So Arabic is not a part of the Quran. We revealed it as an Arabic Quran. And in other places, the Quran says, in your language so that you may understand it. Otherwise, in the core essence of the Quran, it has nothing to do with the language. It's just those beautiful meanings coming from the source that is absolutely ineffable. Again, Surah Qadr 97:1. Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. We caused the commencement of the revelation in Laylatul Qadr. Again, Baqarah 2:185. Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran hudan lin-nas wa bayyinatin min al-huda wal-furqan. Shahru Ramadan, in which the Quran was revealed as a guidance for mankind, wa bayyinatin min al-huda, and an expression of guidance. Now look at this. It's a very clear verse. Surah Al-Imran 3, Surah 3, verses 3 and 4. Pay attention to the nuances. Nazzala alayka al-kitab. He gradually caused the kitab to be revealed on you. Whenever it comes to the kitab, it's nazzala, gradual revelation which is continuous. نزل عليك الكتاب بالحق مصدقا لما بين يديه. And then to verify what you have, but then look at how the word changed. وأنزل التوراة والإنجيل. And he singularly revealed the Torah and the Injil, because these are singular revelations from the mother book and the preserved tablets that are singularly being revealed. But when it comes to the kitab, it's a continuous process of gradual revelation. When it comes to the codified books, they come in one revelation, which is over a protracted period. وَأَنزَلَ التَّوْرَاةَ وَالْإِنْجِيلَ مِنْ قَبْلِ. And he did inzal of Torah and Injil previously. هُدًى لِلنَّاسِ, as guidance for mankind. وَأَنزَلَ الْفُرْقَانِ. And he, in a singular fashion, revealed the Furqan. Furqan here means the Quran, as we know, but we'll discuss that further. Now look at Surah Zumar. Both of these cognates are being used of nazal. Both of these forms of nazal are being used. Verses 1 to 3. Tanzilul kitab min Allah al-Aziz al-Hakim. The gradual, continuous revelation of the kitab, of the book, from Aziz al-Hakim, from the mighty, the wise. Min Allah al-Aziz al-Hakim. Then look at the next one. Inna anzalna ilayka al-kitab bil-haq. We revealed to you in one shot the book with the truth. So we made it into the Quran and we revealed it to you. So there are two distinct things happening. One is tanzil, one is inzal. At the level of tanzil, there are no meanings. It's just an amorphous channel opening up, pouring itself out. Then at the level of Kitabul Mubin, it acquires meaning. The meaning is separated. Then at the next level, it acquires expression. This expression is safeguarded within Kitabil Maknoon, Lawhin Mahfud, that no one has access to, save the most purified one. Then after that, it is revealed, its revelation is commenced from a particular stage over a protracted period of time, and a singular, gradual process. Now, that is one side of the story. What about the reception of the revelation by the Prophet in the moment, synchronized with the higher realm? So here we find a few meanings that the Quran is giving that are central to the whole story. The first one is ruh, the spirit. The spirit, by the close examination of the verses, seems to be an agency of God that opens the heart to the higher truth. Right now, our hearts are concealed in this worldly domain. We have eyes with which we see not, ears with which we hear not, hearts with which we think not. لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم. Had you known by sure knowledge, you would have seen the pits of hell whilst alive in this world. But you don't. So ruh is that agency that connects the individual human heart with the truth that is abound. Why do I say this? Through Nabi Isa. وَأَيَّدْنَاهُ بِرُوحِ الْقُدُسِ. We assisted him with Ruhul Qudus. O Isa, through the Ruhul Qudus, you spoke to the people in your cradle. Can you see that? A baby in the cradle should not speak because they have not seen, heard, compared, learned language, articulation, concept and delivery of concepts. These are all processes. But when Ruhul Quds comes upon Isa, Isa, Salamullah alayhi, bypasses all the natural processes. We gave you Ruhul Qudus, Isa, and through that, you spoke in your cradle. The Ruhul Qudus is a agency that connects the soul of the Prophet and opens it up and makes it receptive. Surah Nahl 16:102. قُلْ نَزَّلَهُ رُوحُ الْقُدُسِ. Say, the Holy Spirit has gradually brought it down. So Ruhul Qudus is distinct from Ruhul Amin, as you will see. Ruhul Qudus gradually brought it down. Min Rabbik. I will recite the full verse tomorrow or day after. Surah Al-Shura 26:193-194. Now this is a different reference. Ruhul Qudus is doing tanzil from the book, but Ruhul Amin is bringing it from another realm. نزل به الروح الأمين على قلبك. Ruhul Amin has come down with it upon your heart. Ruhul Qudus sent it down. Ruhul Qudus sent it down from the book. Ruhul Amin has come down with it upon your heart. Now Ruhul Amin could be Hazrat Jibreel Salamullah alayhi. Surah Baqarah 297. It's responding to the Jewish community of the time. قُلْ مَنْ كَانَ عَدُوًا لَجِبْرِيلٍ. Say, whoever is an enemy of Jibreel, فَإِنَّهُ نَزَّلَهُ عَلَىٰ قَلْبِكَ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. He is the one who gradually revealed it upon your heart through the consent of God. And this is after its initiation of its revelation. Why am I saying Ruhul Qudus is different? Because we will see that verse, when we examine it carefully, that verse was the verse that overruled the compiled Quran, and the compiled Quran had to be changed in the sense that the verse had to be cancelled. إِذَا بَدَّلْنَا آيَةً مَكَانَ آيَةً. When we change a verse in place of another. قَالُوا إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُفْتَرٍ. They will say, and I'm not quoting the verse accurately just to make you understand, they will say, you're a fabricator. Say, Ruhul Qudus has brought it down. So it shows that there was intervention from the level of the book on the formed Quran, and the formed Quran was tweaked and changed in the moment. So Ruhul Qudus brings it from the book, whereas Ruhul Amin and Jibreel bring it from after the level of Kitabul Maknoon and Kitabul Alohul Mahfuz. That's the first thing, Ruhul Qudus. The second element that the Quran points at is inspiration and articulation of the wahi, which is what we call revelation, but it is not revelation, it is inspiration. What is inspiration? It comes straight to the heart, and the heart cannot deny it. These are meanings that are true. You suddenly know it. There is no denying it. It's truer than sound heard, audible sound heard by our ears. It is audible in its own way. but it is not heard by the ears. So this is known as wahi. So now we've got this, the gradual descent of the book, making it into verses, making it into recital, preserving it into the tablet, Ruhul Amin, coming to the heart of the Prophet. These are all stages. Now when Ruhul Amin comes to the heart of the Prophet, something else happens. The heart of the Prophet becomes receptive to the higher communication. It is at this point that wahi happens. Wahi happens at this point. نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن. This is Surah Yusuf, verse 12, Surah 12, verse 3. We relate to you the best of stories with what we have inspired to you of this Quran. وَإِن كُنْتَ مِن قَبْلِهِ لَمِنَ الْغَافِلِينَ. Even though, O Muhammad, you did not know any of it previously. Now we will challenge that somewhat tomorrow by another verse and reconcile it. So now if you look at the wahi in the Quran, وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ, your Lord inspired the bee. Go to the mountains, take your food from there. Jibreel doesn't, Salamullah alayhi, doesn't go to the bee, right? So it means instinctively the bee knows what to do. But it is a more heightened sense of knowledge than instinct. You see, had we not had minds that think so much, instinctively we would be able to live. We would know exactly what to do even without thinking. The mechanism to preserve ourselves is inbuilt within us. We are a part of the animal kingdom. But because we are superior in the sense that we can think, we override the instinct through thought. And sometimes there's a conflict between instinct and what we reason. But at other times we say, I have a gut feeling, and I'm not going to go against it. And often we are right not to go against our gut feeling. That gut feeling that we have, it is a form of inspiration and ilham and wahi. And we reveal to the mother of Moses. It is also revelation. This revelation to the mother of Moses was either by inner sound or the occurrence of meanings within the heart and the soul of mother of Moses that she just could not deny. For anyone to take such a risk of putting her baby inside a basket and putting the basket in the Nile, it's too much of a risk unless you are convinced that the divine has spoken with you and it is absolutely true. So wahi, when it comes, it is undeniable and it overrules the mind. And we'll see a lot more tomorrow because today will be half the story. Surah Nisa 163. إِنَّا أُوحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ كَمَا أُوحَيْنَا إِلَى نُوحٍ وَالنَّبِيِّينَ مِن بَعْدِ. We are inspiring you as we inspired Nuh and the prophets that came after him. Why is it beginning with Nabi Nuh and not Nabi Adam? It's interesting because the Quran does not have a lot about Nabi Adam. But the Genesis has a lot about Nabi Adam. Go and read the Genesis. We will talk about it in future lectures. That by the time of Nabi Adam, there was something else happening between the levels of communication of the higher and the lower. From Nabi Nuh, the communication becomes different. And we are resorting to wahi after that. Surah Najm, although this is a very deep verse and we want to discuss it at some other point as well. Surah 53, verses 4 and 5. In huwa illa wahyun yuha. It is but a wahi that has been given. Allamahu shadidul quwa. The one mighty in strength has taught him. The Quran is saying. But it does not quote what the wahi was, and there's a secret there. Now this wahi that comes upon the blessed Prophet is simultaneously articulated. So you're getting this tanzeel making of the ayat, articulation of the verses. Then at one instance, the verses are being sent down. Metaphorically, there's no up and down, but it's all in the moment. For them to be received by the Prophet, the Ruh al-Amin comes to the heart of the Prophet. And the heart of the Prophet is prepared to receive the communication or to decipher it. As the heart of the Prophet becomes prepared to decipher it, what happens? The inspiration starts pouring in, or the inspiration starts getting deciphered. I'm going to give a very crude example. Back in the day, we used to have radios, right? That we used to dialing, we used to tune, right? And when it's right on the frequency, you hear the words properly. You decipher everything. Otherwise, they're just vague ideas, instincts, inspirations, gut feelings. But at that point, you become attuned. You know exactly what is being said. That preparation happens in the soul of the Prophet, and bam, communication starts. It is known as wahi. This has two stages. One is the meaning. Once the meaning comes upon the soul of the Prophet simply speaks. Initially, when the first wahi came, Iqra, the Prophet did not know what to do with it. We will explain that. But subsequently, the Prophet knew that as the wahi comes, he has to speak it out. And that is why you find this in the life of the Prophet, that wahi would suddenly come upon him. And he would find it very heavy. He would sweat, his color would change. Sometimes he would fall unconscious. And when he awoke, he would speak it out quickly. So what was happening there was that the meanings were coming in his heart. And his tongue was being made to articulate those meanings in Arabic language. Or that the Arabic language, so you see there are two things here. One is the meanings are coming, the Prophet is fully holding those meanings within himself, and then he is fully giving them out, and his tongue is just articulating it. And the evidence of that analysis is that verse in Surah Qiyamah, do not move your tongue to hasten it, through the fear that you might forget it. We will gather it, and we will cause its recital properly, and then we will explicate it. So here is wahi coming into the Prophet, and he is speaking it out. Now, this process is termed by the Quran with another phrase, talaqqa. Talaqqa. And you've heard this phrase again and again in the Quran. You've read it. وَتَلَقَّى آدَمْ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ. And Adam did talaqqa of words from his Lord, and his Lord turned to him. What is talaqqa? Talaqqa is a description of what is happening to the Prophet at the point of wahi. Talaqqa means spontaneous coming of meanings, spontaneous coming of words. Kalimatun alkaha ila Maryam. Isa is a word of God that he threw upon Maryam. Alka, threw it. It went upon Maryam. Now look at the verses. Surah An-Naml 27:6. وَإِنَّكَ لَتُلَقَّى الْقُرْآنَ مِنْ لَدُنْ حَكِيمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Indeed, you are receiving the Quran. This process of receiving it was talaqqa. It's coming upon you spontaneously from Hakimin Alim, from the most wise, most knowing. Surah Qasas, Surah 28, verse 86. وَمَا كُنْتَ تَرْجُو أَنْ يُلْقَى إِلَيْكَ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً مِنْ رَبِّكَ. And you are not hopeful that the book will be thrown upon you or thrown into your heart, save as a mercy from your Lord. But now there's a bit of a twist. And this twist will open many doors. This talaqqa, finding access to the heart, is from both sides, the good side and the not so good side. So in our case, we have the inspiration from the angel. and we have the whisper of the devil, don't we? When that channel is open, within the Prophet, guess who else can get access to it? The demon. And we will explain about the demon, that he is no ordinary being. The demon also finds access there. And as the angel inspires, the demon also tries to infiltrate the soul and the heart of the Prophet. You find this strange, don't you? It's in Surah Al-Hajj. Surah 22, verse 52. I want you to read this with me carefully. Look at the verse. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن قَبْلِكَ مِن رَسُولٍ وَلَا نَبِيٍّ. O Muhammad, before you we have not sent a messenger or a prophet. A messenger carrying a message, or a prophet giving them the news of the unseen. إِلَّا إِذَا تَمَنَّى, except that whenever they desired to articulate what they were supposed to deliver, أَلْقَى الشَّيْطَانِ فِي أُمْنِيَتِي, Shaitan alqa, threw into their desire to articulate. Can you see that? The shaitan caused meanings to go through into them, and they spoke those meanings. So obviously the Prophet Muhammad faced this particular scenario in which this baffling experience happened to him, and he was baffled. So the Quran is consoling him. It's always been happening, and it always happens. No messenger has gone before you, no Nabi has gone before you, but they have had slip of tongue. But that meanings have arose from within them that they did not intend. And they were baffled, and they were asking, where is this coming from? It does not accord to the meanings that I usually receive, but it's coming through the same channel. Can you see that? It's like jamming the radar or something. I've been quite good today at giving these sort of examples, haven't I? Like jamming somebody's radar and giving your own message through it, right? It's something like that. But the verse continues. فَيَنْسَخُ اللَّهُ مَا يُلْقِي الشَّيْطَانِ, and God wipes clean whatever shaitan has thrown within the soul, within the articulation, within the meaning. ثُمَّ يَحْكُمُ اللَّهُ آيَاتُهُ, and then Allah forms His sign, the ones that He is giving. I'm going to conclude this and just take us through it. Now this is one half of the story, the other half comes tomorrow. That the communication, which is known as the Quran, is not something that is scripted and being delivered subsequent to the script. It is a communication that is being made in the moment. And we will explain that tomorrow, how that's done. It's made in the moment, as the Prophet is speaking it. The process is that there is a kitab, that's a lofty source, and that is Azizun Hakim, Rabbul Alameen, from the ineffable God. That source is constantly pouring forth tanzeel, a constant process of gradual revelation from realm to realm to realm, but not in space or in time, in the very moment. This meaningless communication is subsequently within the Kitab al-Mubin, Kitab al-Hakim. In that source, secondary source, Ummul Kitab, in that secondary source, it acquires expression in terms of signs. Are you seeing that? That is its real status, sign. And that's why the verses of the Quran are known as ayat. They are pointing at something else. Inna fi dhalika la ayat. In there are signs, not what you're understanding. There's a deeper sign in there from Kitabul Mubin. Yes? So you know when the Quran says, in the rotation of the night and day are signs. Doesn't the mind at all ask, what sign is he talking about here? There is a sign. You are not from the world of night and day. You are from another world altogether that doesn't understand night and day. Recall, in death and life are signs. Why is there a sign there? Because you are not life or death. It's a sign. Think through the sign. The word that you are reading is conveying, buried inside it, a sign. Think about that sign. What is it pointing at? Then they become signs. These signs are separated, apportioned, fixed. Then these signs are formed in a recital. It's all happening in the moment. In the moment, everything is happening. The Prophet is speaking it, and all this process is taking place simultaneously. These signs are being made into a recital. This recital is safeguarded. No one can alter it or falter with it. And that's why the Quran says, نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. We have gradually revealed the reminder, and we will safeguard it. Can you see that? So the Quran is infallible. It cannot be faltered with. It is intact. Because it's already in a protected book, in a hidden tablet. It's been protected already. No matter what you do with it, it will regain its original status. Even if somebody comes and introduces verses in the Quran, very quickly the Muslims will pick up that this doesn't sound like a verse. Have you seen the mastery of the Quran, the recital? If you hear something that is not Quran, you will know this is not Quran. Even the people who don't understand Arabic will know this is not Quran. It's phenomenal. The recital is protected and safeguarded. After this stage, the recital is sent in the form of inzal. Inzal of Torah, inzal of Injil, inzal of Furqan. Inzal means a singular, gradual revelation. The distinction between the Quran and Torah and Injil is, Torah and Injil are records of the conversations between the higher realm and the prophets. Whereas the Quran is not merely a record of that conversation. It is articulated by Aziz al-Hakim and Rabbul Alameen. وَمَا كَانَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ يُفْتَرَى مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. This Quran cannot be produced from other than God. And had it been produced from other than God, there would be many discrepancies therein. Can you see that? So this Quran is a miracle in itself, in its recital. Leave aside the meanings that are unending. Then the recital is gradually, in one shot, commenced its descent in a gradual process, but singular gradual process. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن ليلة القدر, so on and so forth. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة مباركة. We revealed it in a blessed night. We have 3-4 references in the Quran. That process then takes place through the coming of the Ruh al-Amin. The Ruh al-Amin opens the channel of communication. As Ruh al-Amin opens the channel of communication, the soul is fine-tuned. It taps into the communication, which is then known as Wahi, revelation. And as the Wahi comes upon the Blessed Prophet, then he digests it, and his mouth is made to articulate it, articulated by Azizun Hakim. And that is why the Quran says, have you ever seen him write with his right hand prior to this time? إِنَّمَا يُعَلِّمُهُ بَشَرٌ. A human being is teaching him this. That's what they used to say. A jinn is teaching him. You know, the people of Mecca were baffled. They were saying, how does a man like him, who has not studied, come out with words like these? So balanced, so articulate, better than any poetry that we have ever constructed. You know the Sab'a Mu'allaqat, don't you? The 7 hung poems on the wall. The Prophet simply nailed the shortest surah, Inna Atinaka al-Kawthar. And the greatest poet of the day, this is from what I hear, wrote an additional verse, Wallahi ma hada kalamu bashar. By Allah, this cannot be the word of a man. He verified it. So these words that were coming through the Prophet, they understood this is not something a human being can do. Although initially they used to say a jinn is inspiring, but we'll come to that afterwards. The whole of this process is described as talaqqa, the throwing in of the meanings. Talaqqa also leaves the heart vulnerable to other devious communications. But the Quran says He has protected His own communication. And He says to the Prophet, every messenger that's gone before you, they have all faced the same problem that today you have experienced. Hussein ibn Ali, salamullah alayh, as you know, Abbas, what be news between us and our antagonizers? Master, oh brother, they are about to mount an attack. Ask them respite for a night. For you know, Abbas, how much my heart wishes to devote to my God before I go on to meet with Him. Allow me to recite the words of God in the Quran. Allow me to remember God. That is when the Quran penetrates deep within the soul. Hussein is on his way towards Kufa. He meets people approaching from Kufa, and he asks one of them, do you have any news of my emissary, Muslim ibn Aqil? He said, Hussein, Muslim and Hani have been put to death. Their heads were severed from their bodies and thrown from the top of the Darul Imara, and their bodies were dragged and their heads were placed upon spears. Hussein said, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. There was commotion in the camp of Hussein. There were cries. As women learned, they slapped their faces and they called out, Wa ghurbata, wa muslima. Imam Hussein summoned his nephews and nieces, the children of Muslim. And he said, from today, I am your father. They said, oh uncle, has something happened to our father? He has tasted from the chalice of death, O children. When little Sakina saw this scene, she could not understand the meaning of the word yatim. She could not understand how Hussein and why Hussein was caressing the head of the little daughters of Muslim. She said, oh mother, what is yatim? I will say, Sakina, when you find your garments catching fire, when you find shimmer slapping you, when you find your earrings being extracted, and when you call on to your father, O Father, why have you forsaken your Sakina on such a night? And when your father replies not, O child, this is when you have become yatim.